Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about how moving abroad has made me feel like I have more control over my life. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Patricia Brooks, and in 2018, I left my job and I moved to the south of France. And now I help people who are ready to make a similar move to a foreign country, but who may feel like they would like support in building confidence or courage or some other mindset that will help them to make the move abroad and do it in a confident and sustainable way. On this channel, I talk about my life in France, about making the move abroad, and how to find that confidence and courage so that you can live the kind of life you know you were meant to live, even when it feels scary. And today I'm going to talk about a topic that I think we all have experienced in our lives, and that is feeling like we don't have control over our lives, like we are a victim, or that we don't feel like we have the agency to do the things that we truly want to do. And I'm going to talk about two experiences in my life. The first one was when I wanted to make a move to France. Back in 2014 and 2015, I was dreaming about living in France. I wanted to do this thing, but I didn't believe it was possible for me to do it. And so I studied French, but I did little more than that. But in January of 2017, I got sick and tired of wanting this dream without making any progress. And so I hired a coach to get unstuck. And that coach was great because in our first session, she asked me the question, well, how much would it take for you to make a move to France, say, for just 1 year? And I couldn't answer that question. I couldn't answer that question because I'd been avoiding looking at my finances. I'd been avoiding looking at what the requirements were to get a visitor visa, how much I needed to have saved up in order to get that, because I was afraid. But when she asked me that question and she gave that assignment to me as homework, I did it. The following week, we met and I had my answer. And I felt empowered because I had more than enough to support myself for a few years in France. So that started the ball rolling. The rest of 2017, I did what I needed to do to make my move to France. I got rid of stuff. I painted my house. I applied for my visa. I, set the ball in motion to give my 2 weeks notice. And on January 24th, 2018, I boarded a plane bound for France to move there. And as I was seated on that plane before it took off, I felt peaceful. I felt like I knew that this was the right move for me. 7 hours later, we landed on French soil and I felt like I had made it home. Still had a little ways to go. I had a 5-hour train ride after that, but I knew I had done the right thing. And for those first 2 weeks, I was on cloud 9. I had done this thing that felt so far away from me, so impossible for me, but yet I had done it. And so I felt so empowered in those moments, in those first 2 weeks. Well, week 3 felt a little bit different because that's when I started thinking about the gravity of what I'd done. I'd left a really good paying job. I didn't have a job, wasn't making any income. I was living off of savings. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to make money going forward. And so I questioned the soundness of this idea of making this move abroad, of this project to move to France. And so over the course of the next 9 or 10 months, I had to work hard so that that thought wouldn't get me stuck and fearful and send me back to the United States. And I had some tools because I'd been trained as a coach and that really helped. But after that, after applying for my second visa and getting that approved, I felt more relaxed in my life here in France. So this feeling of empowerment was not something that was steady initially. Those first 2 weeks, like I said, were amazing. But I had my challenges, setting up a new life in France and figuring out how life worked here in France. That was hard. Having that negative thought that, oh, what have you done? Why did you quit such a good job? That wasn't fun at all. But 18 months in, when I bought my car and needed to get insurance for that car and had a conversation all in French with that insurance agent, I felt empowered. I'm like, wow, I'm fluent in French. Having had my first long-term relationship with a French guy, even though it didn't end the way that I would like it to have ended, that felt empowering too. A year later, starting my own business here in France, and 3 years later, being where I am today, feels really empowering. And it all started by hiring that coach to help me to see what I couldn't see, help to make me feel more empowered, make me to feel like I had some control over my life and how it went. Now, can you relate to feeling like you don't have control over your life? Can you relate to feeling like you don't have agency or authority in your own life? If you can, give this video a thumbs up. Now, I am a writer, and it's amazing that I can say that. I've published 2 books, and I have a 3rd book that I'm looking for a literary agent for so that I can get that traditionally published. But it's not so logical that I would be sharing the fact that I am a published author with you today. Because back when I was 14 years old, I was taking private flute lessons. And unfortunately, my flute teacher, a 32-year-old man, decided that he was going to molest me. And so my first sexual encounter was with this predator. And I thought that he and I were boyfriend and girlfriend. And I was told not to say anything about it, and I hadn't. But we got found out because I had written it down in my diary. And my stepfather, who was astute and recognized one day I came home and I was high and he wanted to know what was going on, he went searching for answers. And he found those answers in my diary. I was still under the impression that we were boyfriend and girlfriend, that he had done nothing wrong, that my flute teacher had done nothing wrong. And so I vowed that I was not going to write anymore. Stopped writing in my diary, stopped writing altogether. For years, for decades, from the early 80s until about 10 or 12 years ago, I didn't write. And so in those moments, I didn't necessarily feel disempowered. It was not the word that I would have used, but that's exactly what it was. I felt victimized, and in order to not be that way again, I was not going to write again. Well, years later, I'm not sure what transpired that allowed me to say, oh no, Patricia, you need to write. But I was in a place where I felt like I needed to be creative. I needed to get some of my emotions out on paper. And my stepfather had been dead for years. And that threat of being found out in a diary was not really the first thing on my mind. And so I started journaling again. A few months later, I signed up for a creative writing class, right? And the rest is history now. But for years, after being victimized, I did not feel like I had the power to write. And that was very costly. Now, I share, these 2 experiences, how I felt, not appreciated at my job, and how moving to France was something that I wanted to do for myself, and how, taking writing back up was something that helped to free me and to give me the authority in my life that I wanted to experience. But I know that events in life, current events or personal events can cause us to feel less empowered, can cause us to feel like we don't have control over our lives. And when that happens, that doesn't feel good. And I know quite recently, current events have made me feel less empowered as a woman, and I wanted to do something about that. So in 2025, I am going to start what I call women's salons. Now, these are online events that are open to 8 to 10 women that I'm going to do on a monthly basis. And each of these women's salons will have a different topic. So, for example, in January, we might have a conversation about reinventing ourselves. Maybe you no longer know what you like or enjoy, but know that you need to do something different. Or maybe you know exactly how you want to reinvent your life, and you just need to express it, have a sounding board, have encouragement. Maybe in February, we talk about how we can put ourselves first, because for years, as women, we can tend to put other people first. And when we do, we lose a part of ourselves, and that can feel disempowering. Maybe one month we talk about how people-pleasing has impacted our lives and what strategies we've employed to stop people-pleasing so that we can feel more empowered. Now, these are just some ideas for topics. I don't have all of the topics outlined. If this idea of a women's salon where 8 to 10 women get together on a Zoom call and we talk about topics such as these, if that sounds of interest to you, then I'd like for you to go ahead and get on the wait list. You can do that by going to thecouragecatalyst.com/salon. And once you're on the waiting list, as soon as I have more information, I will send that out to you so that you can sign up for these salons and take part in them. And if you are interested and you have a topic that you really want to explore in one of these women's salons, let me know what those topics are in the comments, because I don't have everything figured out for next year. This is really just a thought that I got about 3 weeks ago, and I really want to make the most of these. All right. So that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.